Madam Chair. First, thank you for having this hearing, and thank you all for coming and testifying. I am 39 years old. I'm a member of the last generation that remembers life before technology has just transformed things. We didn't have cell phones when I was little, and then we had the big bag phone that people remember, and then obviously the internet. I remember dial-up, and then the iPhone came out in 2007. And just think about the time between, I would say, the early 90s to the mid, 2010 to today. I mean, it's just enormous leaps forward in technology, and I think it's caused a lot of problems. I think our society has a difficult time dealing with our increased interconnectivity. It's really been the end of the media, the way that you purchase and pursue advertisements has really been a problem. And while it has caused a lot of problems in our societies dealing with that, I do think that it can also be the solution. And whether it's healthcare, fighting wars, or law enforcement, these are all things that technology can help us be more efficient at. And so I appreciate having this hearing today to discuss law enforcement and military use of this type of technology. So I'm going to start with Mr. Keneally. The price of, what is the name of the, I call it a dog, but it's not, what's the actual name?
Yeah, so the robot is called the Vision 60 by Ghost Robotics,
Okay.
and it is, as soon as we sell robots to our customers, they invariably come up with their own name for them. They develop this really amazing relationship.
And
we're
how
very
much
fond
is
of
it?
them.
It was...
Yeah, so the robot's $165,000.
Okay. Have you done the studies on how much a drug sniffing dog or a bomb sniffing dog costs?
I don't have that information, off the top of my head, but those are also very significant investments that are made over time, and then there's always the
It
consideration.
takes years to train, and then there's a service life, and there's food and shelter and care. I mean,
Right.
I have to think that it costs drastically more than that. So, and you can't really have a bomb sniffing and a drug sniffing dog. You have to have one or the other, and yours can do both. So that's a pretty incredible piece of technology. And we talked earlier, the military is currently your larger customer, and law enforcement to a lesser extent?
Yes, that's correct.
But I would imagine that the law enforcement role has enormous potential. And
yes, there's really three main markets that we're really focused on most broadly. That would be military, or DoD, law enforcement, and first responders, and then on the industrial side. So to date, the majority of our business has been with DoD. But I think if you look at how the technology development typically happens, you look at GPS, the internet, touchscreen phones, right? It's always kind of DoD leading the charge as that initial customer, really proving out the use cases, getting the technology more mature, decreasing costs, and then it kind of goes into law enforcement, goes into industrial.
Thank you for that.
I think we're kind of following that similar trajectory as well.
Thank you. Mr. Nawabi, the high-altitude Pseudo satellite that you showed in your video, what are the benefits of that versus a satellite? Could you talk through that?
Sure. Thank you, Congressman Timmons. So there's several key advantages to a stratospheric pseudo-satellite or high-altitude pseudo-satellite. Number one, we're about at 60,000 or 65,000 feet, you're about 20 kilometers above ground. You're above all the weather, but you're still 20 kilometers. A LEO satellite is roughly hundreds of kilometers. Most of them are in the thousands of kilometers.
So Starlink, for example, how high are Starlink?
They're usually in the several hundred, 900 kilometers to 1,000 or so. And then geosynchronous satellites are 20,000 miles plus.
And you're able to provide 5G cell service?
Yes, we actually had, 2 years ago, one of the flights that you saw the video on, we flew that airplane from Spaceport, New Mexico. We took off, when we get to the stratosphere. It had an LTE payload at that time. The LTE payload, I was able to make a four-way Zoom HD quality video and voice phone call through that airplane connecting Tokyo, Japan, Silicon Valley, Spaceport, New Mexico, and DC.
What is the distance from on the ground that you can be?
So one HAPS can cover about a 200-kilometer diameter circle on the ground. It has both commercial applications for disaster relief, for hurricanes, for first response. We also has for communications. The main reason why we developed it was all for commercial applications, using our own commercial dollars, not government funding.
How much is one of those?
So these are experimental for this point, and the price points are going to be competitive with cell towers for most of the globe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Madam Chair.